Next session, and this one definitely would be of interest to many of you, as this one is topic as the India's soft power skills for the creative industry in our new economy. So definitely a lot of us creative people sitting here, this is your opportunity to understand the ways and means of monetizing the same and a little more through this panel that we would like to talk about it. So give us a few seconds while we have the stage ready. We will have the panelists with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our panelist for this one, India's soft power skills for the creative industry in our new economy. Let me welcome in on stage Miss Malini Avasthi. She's an eminent folk singer who's been awarded the prestigious Padma Shri by the President of India in 2016. Welcome, ma'am. हमारे बीच है प्रसन्नजीत बसु जिन्होंने लिखी है एशिया रीबॉर्न, a continent rises from the ravages of colonialism and war to a new dynamism, जिसको टाटा लिटरेचर लाइव फर्स्ट बुक अवार्ड फॉर 2018 से भी नवाजा गया. Let me also with us welcome on stage D.K. Hari to please join us as well onto the stage, sir. You had met Mr. Hari earlier during the previous session. Moving on, please welcome Mr. Gunwant Singh Mungia, an entrepreneur who needs no introduction, but he's the chairman and a brand ambassador of Mungia Steel Limited. He's truly a living example of a visionary possessing all qualities of a successful entrepreneur. Welcome, sir. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Let me also welcome on stage the moderator for same, Mr. Hari Kiran Vadlamani, who's a social entrepreneur and a founder of the India Academy of Non-Traditional University for Traditional Knowledge. We'd like to welcome him, and without wasting much of your time and yours, let me hand it over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Our time has just been deducted, 10 minutes deducted. We only have 20 minutes now, so I'm really going to rush this. I just request everyone to take out your phones, not to put it on silent mode, but just go to this platform that we just started, called softpowermag.com. Can I request you to do that? If you go to this website, you will see 8 or 9 countries that are represented on a single homepage, whether it's Brazil, Chile, Germany, Italy, and all these countries are consuming our culture. The way I'm the founder of Indic Academy, and we have a center for soft power. And the way we look at soft power is that we look at it from a perspective of India being endowed with a natural resource. Just like Saudi Arabia is endowed with oil, India is endowed with a natural resource called culture. And this culture globally is much in demand and much wanted. It's being consumed across the world. Now the question is, can we think about this culture as a natural resource that we have and use it to create employment in our country? And that's the question that we are discussing today. The way we think about it is, every millennial in the world today, what he or she wears, what he or she eats, what he or she puts on the body, or what he or she uses in the house, has to be a sustainable product. This is the reality. 1 in 7 millennial in the US is becoming a vegetarian and vegan. So the big thing about culture and cultural creative people is that they're looking at wellness, they're looking at spirituality, they're looking at mindfulness, they're looking at yoga, they're looking at environment. More importantly, they're looking at experiential tourism. Of all the segments in tourism, experiential tourism is the fastest growing sub-segment. And when you say experiential tourism, it means that they just don't want to come and see a monument, but they want the whole environment to be curated. Be it the food, be it the dress, be it the whole experience. Today, if we think about experiential tourism as a segment, the kind of growth that we can see in tourism itself will be huge. Similarly, if you look at vegetarian cuisine and how we can promote that globally, there again, millions of jobs can be created. So our entire focus is how do we look at all these verticals, whether it's spirituality, whether it's yoga, whether it's Ayurveda, whether it's films, whether it's language, whether it's literature, whether it's design, whether it's craft, whether it's cuisine, all these verticals, what can we think of in terms of a value chain, in terms of the economic value chain behind the delivery of these things, and how do we make this as an economic activity that we can promote to create jobs? And I have a fantastic panel, and I would like to start with Malini ji, and I would request her, she is, as you know, Padma Shri, and she's a folk singer, and she has a vast network of folk singers across India. I would like her views on this, but before that, I would request her to give us a small a song and start the.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And I think this is a very interesting discussion that we are going to cover today. And I do believe that soft power, if any country can really talk about it in the global present situation, is us Indians. Whether it is, I remember when we were growing up as young children, we grew up in a very conflicting world where countries were fighting with each other. We would read about years of wars going on, and somewhere I feel that today, ultimately the philosophy of India, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramya, that seems to have taken over. It's become impossible for countries now to take on others, hold on wars, because their citizens won't let them do it now. So ultimately it comes back to soft power, whether it is yoga as you see, music as you see, spirituality as you see. And I have had a very interesting experience myself, because I got opportunity to travel across the world. And more so over, I got an opportunity to travel to diaspora countries also, where our own forefathers left for good, for a better life, maybe not realizing where they were headed to, but they went to Trinidad, Mauritius, Fiji. And I remember I was invited to Fiji on 40th anniversary of ICCR. And when I reached there were about 10 islands that I was taken to on ships. And it was a mind-blowing experience, because I was the first artist the Indians there, the Fijians, were getting to see. And when I went there, I thought that, I realized maybe I've reached to a village in Gorakhpur, because the way they dressed up, the way they had set the stage with the saris, local saris. And I was told that the children knew Ramayana by heart. Thousands of miles away from India. But in 1835, they left India, but they knew more, they're more Indian than you and me. And when I sang for them, I really made that day. And I realized the power of music and this soft power. Interestingly, since you asked me to sing, I went to Mauritius. And there is a very popular song that I sing. It's a very popular song because as the debate is about the present economic condition. So this song is about migration, where a gentleman sits in a railway train and again migrates for good. And he leaves, but the girl, his wife, looks away the train and she breaks into a song. Riliya bairan piya ko liye jaye re, Riliya bairan ho, Riliya bairan piya ko liye jaye re, Riliya bairan. So we can understand that he has gone to work. Ari jaune tikaswa se saiya mor jai hai, pani barse tikas gal jaye re, Riliya bairan. She wishes ill for even the employer there where he's gone to work, and she wishes that something happens to the person who has asked him to come and work for him. Nothing happens to him again. She goes on singing, Ari jaune sahabwa ke saiya more naukar, jaune sahabwa ke saiya more naukar, Ari goli daga sahab mar jaye re, goli daga. This is about the economic conditions. We were very poor, and somebody migrated from Bihar or Eastern UP. But what is very strange that you get to listen to the same song in Mauritius. So when our forefathers went there, people think they carried nothing, but they carried this legacy of culture and traditions and values. And this is why in Mauritius you find Tulsi worshipping, Hanuman worshipping. This is all soft power. And I think today when we find the whole world moving towards spirituality, non-violence, and looking within, working, coming back to your roots, trying to make your village look perfect, as you said, trying to respect your grandmother's traditions. That is what I've been doing all my life, and I've realized that I never got this result or this interest in society that we are getting to do now. In fact, I find people now, they DM and they message me and text me that this is a song my grandmother used to sing. Please take this song and sing it somewhere because my daddy is now gone home there. So at least somebody will be preserving the song. So this is what I see. And like I said, I know Geological Survey of India has clarified that the gold found in Sonbhadra is not the amount that we thought it to be. But somewhere you have to respect our ancestors who knew that what to call it. It was called Sonbhadra. So they knew more than Geological Survey of India maybe centuries ago. This is soft power, worshipping knowledge traditions of India.
Thank you so much, Malini. One of the things is that music industry worldwide is about $4 billion. Hollywood is about $11 billion. The gaming industry is $16 billion, one of the fastest growing. That's one area where we can play a role in making immersive games based on our mythological stories. And I would like Hari to step in here because he's talked about almost 40 verticals from our culture where we can look at employment. Can you just talk about that, Hari?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. What we've done is we have created a book called Brand Bharat, in which says Future from India, because the way the past has also been from India, right from zero to infinity. We've given a whole host of things to the world. We also, from the year 2020, for the next 70, 80 years, India has going to give to the world many things, because when we say we're going to be a Vishwa Guru, we're going to be a giving civilization. A guru doesn't take, he gives. So soft power is one area India is going to be giving to the world repeatedly, and for the next 70, 80 years we're going to give. For that we have listed out about 40 items India can focus on to give, and we call it Future from India. That's one. But I'll just take 2 or 3 things because of absolute paucity of time. Obviously I can't list out all 40 in the few minutes. One thing that India has really specialized in, where all the 40 fill in, is mind. Mind is one thing that if any civilization or land or country has specialized on mind for the last 7,000, 8,000 years, it is India Bharatam. We have understood the concept of mind, dwelled into the mind, and recorded different facets and layers of mind. One place where we have said it is in the Panchakosha, where we speak about the Manamaya Kosha and different aspects of mind. And when Buddha, 3,800 years back, when he got Bodhi, what did he do first? What was his first step when he got enlightenment, Bodhi? He touched the ground with his hand. That's the first physical deed that he did. So when you are able to access your mind, it's important to be grounded. All the gurus today speak about being grounded. That's a very important aspect in mind. Mind is not just somewhere up in the sky. That's a key aspect. at the subtle level, because mind is not physical, subtle, but we are the masters of the subtle, because the world is moving towards gross to subtle, and we are the masters of it. First, we have to recognize it and work towards it, and there's enormous data on it in different forms of literature, practices, all those things. Next factor is, since you spoke about vegetarianism, India is the land where you can have 3 meals a day for 365 days of the year and not repeat a dish. No other land in the world, country can say, I've got over 1,000 vegetarian dishes. That's the beauty of the land. So and culinary, and we have 6 days. Most of the places in the world, they've got only 5 days, whereas we got 6 days, which we in Tamil, which is my mother tongue, we call it Arusuvai. 6 days. That's the beauty of it. I can see Anand shaking his head. So Arusuvai is a beautiful word. So we got 6 days. So that's again a big give of our land. Then for all this food, what do you need? Water. When you say the world is going to have a third world war for water, water is going to be a soft power, and the concept of virtual water is going to be there. And this land is endowed with enough and more water if we know how to harness it. After Brazil in the world, because of the Amazon basin, the place that gets the second highest water rainfall in the world is the Indian subcontinent. And it comes to us as clockwork. Every year, on June 1st, you have rains hitting Trivandrum. On June 7th, you have rains hitting Goa. On June 10th, 12th, you have rains hitting Bombay. June 15th, you have rains hitting Saurashtra. See, there's a calendar in the sky by which rains hit each place. So we have a clockwork of rain in India. But the key point is, what you take in this point is, how many hours do we have in a day? 24. How many hours do we have in a week? Into 7. How many hours do we have in a month? Into 30. How many hours do we have in a year? 8,760 hours. Out of the 3 months of rain that we have, you realize that we get only 100 hours of rain. Actual rainfall is only 100 hours. That is what our ancients knew, to harness 100 hours of rain for the balance 8,660 hours. That is the beauty of this land. So that is a soft power. We knew to saving. So that gives a saving mentality. It's not just gold or anything. We saved water beautifully. That gave us a prosperity. That's why we are Sone Ki Chidiya. So the fundamental factor of food, which is a minds of everything, is we need water. Jala. Jala Suraksha. If we have that, then we can supply everything to the world with the copious water we have, because we have no shortage of the blessings of Varuna Bhagavan.
Thank you.
And with that, we can offer different aspects of soft power to the world. Thank you for the short time, guys.
Thank you, Hari. Just to build on his point, I was speaking to a Danish chef, and he was wanting to learn about vegetarian cuisine and come to India. And I asked him why. Then he said, look, we just have fries and we have some salads. But like you said, 29 states, each state, and every day we can eat different dishes. So that's something which we really need to look at from an employment generation point of view. Also, experiential and immersive tourism. All of you can contribute. We recently did a conference on Sthala Puranas, on yatras. This country has so many yatras. Every place, every nook and corner, there's a history, there's a Purana which tells about that story. And that itself is an experience that people are looking for. So that kind of perspective you develop, the experiential tourism is going to be a big boom. Basu, would you like to share your thoughts on that?
Okay. Well, first of all, I think the one point that is worth making is that soft power is not a substitute for hard power. It is a complement. It complements hard power, and soft power is something that India has had throughout history. Hard power is something that we have sometimes lacked. And I think the current government, Prime Minister Modi, has done a great job in the proper use of hard power. Balakot being an excellent example. But when you come to soft power, throughout history, for most of the history of humanity, the world's largest economy was India. Now, this is not something that I am asserting. This is based on a prominent economic historian, Angus Maddison. In his work, he has shown that from the year of Christ's birth, at that time, 0 AD,
India's share of world GDP was 32.9%. In 1700, India's share of world GDP was still around 25%, still the largest in the world. The second largest civilizational state was China through most of history. The largest civilizational state, or the largest civilization in terms of an economy, was almost always India. And as a result of that, we were a great trading power throughout history. And our influence on the world was enormous. So if you think about, let's just focus on the late Gupta period, followed by the Pala dynasty. Now, they had an Ivy League of universities, each of them with 10,000 students. During the Pala dynasty, just in Bengal and Bihar, there were 5 universities: Nalanda, Vikramshila, Udantapuri, Jagadol, and one other. So there are 5 universities, each with 10,000 students from all over the world. Students from China, Korea, Japan, and all the way to Greece came to study in India and partake of the knowledge of our civilization. Not just that, our influence was so widespread that in what is today called Vietnam, through most of history, for about 1,500 years, Vietnam had a Hindu kingdom, was a Hindu kingdom. It is called the Champa Kingdom, Hindu. And in, of course, the world's greatest religious site is, the world's greatest surviving religious site is Angkor Wat in Cambodia, which was a great shrine to Vishnu. Today it seems to be a shrine to Buddha, but in fact it was for most of history a shrine to Vishnu. And similarly, go to Indonesia, there's Borobudur, the greatest Buddhist structure in the world, also heavily influenced by India. So most of what is today Asia was an area of influence from India, and the influence came from a few major factors. One was language, Sanskrit. When Sanskrit was almost dying out in India, it was still alive and prospering in Southeast Asia. Sanskrit was the binding force for all the civilizations of Southeast Asia, whether they were the Khmer. Even today, when the king of Thailand is coronated, first of all, the king of Thailand is called Ram, and the previous capital of Thailand, what is then called Siam or Sham, was called Ayodhya. So across Southeast Asia, you see the influence being pervasive, and across West Asia, there was enormous influence as well. What is today called Iran was part of the Indic civilization through most of history as well. There were great interactions between the two civilizations. And it goes back, in fact, long before the birth of Christ, to the time of Chandragupta Maurya, when the cross-fertilization of civilizations occurred then as well.
So we're running out of time.
The longer you look back in history, the greater the depth of our influence on the world. And it is time now for us to plug into that enormous resource that exists, the historical influence of India on the world. Time to revive it and use it as a complement to hard power. Our soft power, of course, with yoga, with Ayurveda,
Yeah.
we have tremendous resources that need to be continued and built upon.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Monge Sahab, please share your experiences in the CSR and how you're contributing.
We are extremely sorry, but we'll have to stop this now. We have to hard stop, sir. We're so sorry. We apologize. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please hear it for the fantastic session. We do apologize in the paucity of time.
We have not spoken.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
मैं ये कहना चाहता था, जैसे सर ने कहा कि सॉफ्ट पावर इज़ नॉट अ सब्स्टिट्यूट. यही चीज़ मैं बिज़नेस में भी देखता हूँ कि बिज़नेस में अब ये दूसरी पावर्स की बात नहीं है. सॉफ्ट पावर इसके साथ अब समय बदल गया है. बिज़नेस में भी बहुत कंपटीशन है. तो आप ये समझ सकते हैं कि आज बिज़नेस के साथ साथ जैसे उसके मार्केटिंग और ये चीज़ें जिसमें हम कह सकते हैं इकोनॉमी को तो ग्रोथ मिलती ही है, एम्प्लॉयमेंट पे भी ग्रोथ मिलती है. जैसे इन्होंने कहा कि हर थोड़ी थोड़ी दूर पर डिश बदलती है, हर थोड़ी थोड़ी दूर पर भाषाएं भी बदल रही हैं, सभ्यताएं भी बदल रही हैं. आज हमारे पास में आप देखते होंगे कि आदिवासी हैं, उसमें आदिवासियों में भी सबसे पिछड़े जो हमारे पास में आज बिरहोर प्रजाति है, इस प्रजाति में आज तक सबसे ज़्यादा जंगल और सबसे पीछे में रहे, और आज भी एट प्रेजेंट मैं देख रहा हूँ जो आंकड़े आ रहे हैं कि ये प्रजाति लुप्त प्रजाति जो है, ये इनकी गिनती बिल्कुल घट रही है, बड़े रफ्तार से घट रही है। अभी मैं खुशी के साथ कह सकता हूँ कि गिरिडीह में बिरहोर के इस प्रजाति के लिए मुझे एक बार इससे जोड़ा गया और बिरहोर विकास समिति का मैं अध्यक्ष बना 2009 में, और उसके बाद से गिरिडीह और आसपास के इलाकों में इनकी आबादी बढ़ रही है। तो इनकी भी तो अपनी सभ्यता है, इनकी भी तो संस्कृति है, इनके भी तो विचार हैं, और इनके भी मैं छोटी छोटी बात बताता हूँ। जैसे कोई भी चीज़ को पॉलिश करके अगर हम उसको अच्छे तरीके से पेश कर पाएँ तो हमारे पास में बहुत अच्छी अच्छी चीज़ें हैं। आज हमारी जो आप देखते होंगे सीमेंट की बोरी जो आती है, जिसकी प्लास्टिक की रस्सी निकलती है, उससे ये लोग रोप बना रहे थे। हम लोगों ने उनसे अच्छी चीज़ें बनवानी शुरू की, तो उन्हें कारीगरी की तरह से अच्छी अच्छी चीज़ें बनाई, उन्हें रंग पेंट करके और एक पेश किया। तो ये हमारी सभ्यता की पुरानी चीज़ों को नए तरीके से पेश करने का और इकोनॉमी को आगे बढ़ाने का एक अच्छा फॉर्मूला भी है, और उनसे उनकी इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ भी होती है जो ये कर रहे हैं। तो ये चीजें हमारी सारी सभ्यताओं में है, हर जगह पर है, तो इनको आगे लाने की आवश्यकता है, और हम कहाँ तक इनको ला सकते हैं।
I'll have to request to thank you, sir. We're so sorry, we paucity of time. We'll have to stop this here. I'm sure there's much more to talk about it. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.